والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد الحمد لله. Continuing on with Surah Al-Baqarah, we covered ayat 40 and 41 last week, and we made again the connection because the story of Adam alayhi salam is the story that is told before this passage, and that story then all of a sudden shifts to Bani Israel, right? Ya Bani Israel, remember the favor that we have bestowed upon you, and so on and so forth. And again, that connection is not, we talked about, it's not just a random connection, that these connection between the ayat, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran has some kind of cohesiveness. It's not random changing of topics and subjects and so on and so forth. And so the connection that we made, one of them, is that how Adam alayhi salam was, when he was, shaitan came after him, and then he was expelled from Jannah, and then, Allah Azza wa Jalla gave him ayat, He gave him signs, and He told him to follow those signs and not take shaitan as an enemy. Then again, Bani Israel are then reminded of that promise, that you have, whatever comes to you of revelation, you made a promise, you made a covenant to take that and to accept it and to apply it. And so we covered ayat number 40 and 41. And in ayat number 42, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in 41, Allah Azza wa Jalla is commanding them with certain things and prohibiting them from certain things. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, وَآمِنُوا بِمَا أَنزَلْتُ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَكُمْ وَلَا تَكُونُوا أَوَّلَ كَافِرٍ بِهِ وَلَا تَشْتَرُوا بِآيَاتِي ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا وَإِيَّايَ فَاتَّقُونَ. That believe in my revelations which confirm your scriptures, with that which you already have. They confirm what you already have. And again, the direct address is to the Jews of Medina, to whom the Prophet ﷺ is speaking. So accept, believe in these revelations and confirm that what is in your scriptures. Do not be the first people to deny them or trade them for a fleeting gain. Meaning, don't use, stop using the ayat of Allah, the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to try and fool the people or to try and make some kind of a living off of bending the truth. And so this is one of the specific things that's mentioned here, and these commands and prohibitions that Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, they're directed at the ulama of Bani Israel, the learned people of Bani Israel, that this is what they used to do. وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And then He tells them, do not mix the truth with falsehood or cover the truth while you know that exactly what you are doing. And so one of the things that they would do is, that they were known for, is that they would give religious rulings for money. Meaning, if you need, or the Amir or the ruler or whatever, the rich person needs any kind of religious ruling, then they would, offer the people of, the scholars, like, hey, give something in our favor, and then they would try to bend the truth or conceal the truth entirely, and then they would utilizing revelation to try and make some kind of, profit, and doing this, obviously knowing exactly what they're doing, and this kind of behavior. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. And establish the prayer, pay your zakat, your tax, your charity, وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ, and bow down with those who bow down, meaning pray along with those who pray, like the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. He says, do you preach righteousness? Do you أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ, meaning do you command people to do that which is good, and you forget to do it yourselves, and you are the ones who recite the book? أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, and will you have no understanding? And so in this passage, there is a severe warning to the learned people of the religion, right? To the people that are scholars and the people that are pursuing knowledge of this deen, that they have information or access to things now, and their position in society is such that when people come and ask them for something, when they give an answer or they give a response, that the people will accept it as the truth, because there's this trust that is placed within this person, that he's going to give me the right answer, or she's going to give me the right answer. They're going to explain things to me properly. And you have this issue, obviously, now as well, where we always have this concern, whether or not certain people in power are utilizing the scholars to try to sway religious opinions in their way, and so on and so forth. And this is directly what Allah Azza wa Jalla addresses. Do not make a profit off of these types of things. There are many narrations. Some of them are not strong narrations from the Prophet ﷺ, but they've been mentioned by the ulama in the various books of hadith. That narrations that mention that there will come a time where people will use knowledge. They will say, we want to go and learn this religious knowledge so that we can go to the people of authority and make a living off of it. Right, to the people of authority, those in power, and then make a living off of it. And the narration mentions something like that. The only thing they're going to get is it's like if you grab a thorny plant trying to get a flower, the only thing you're going to get is thorns. The only thing you're going to get is pain. The only thing you're going to get is hurt. There is one narration from the Prophet ﷺ where he was talking to one of the Sahaba, Ziyad ibn Labid radiallahu anhu. He said that the Prophet ﷺ was mentioning something to me, and he said, ذَاكَ عِنْدَ أَوَانِ ذَهَابِ الْعِلْمِ. That they were talking about something. He didn't mention what they were talking about, but he said the Prophet ﷺ said that will be at a time when knowledge departs. That knowledge has departed. And so the Sahabi, he said, Ya Rasulullah, وَكَيْفَ يَذْهَبُ الْعِلْمِ. How is it that this knowledge will be departed, will be lost? We recite the Quran. We make our children recite the Quran. Our children will make their children recite the Quran, meaning all the way up until the end. How will this be lost? How will this be lost? And the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm shocked. You are one of the smartest people of Medina. I'm shocked that you don't see what's happening. He said, أَوَلَيْسَ هَذِهِ الْيَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى يَقْرَؤُونَ التَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ لَا يَعْمَلُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْهَا مِمَّا فِيهِمَا. That do you not see these Jews and these Christians? They recite the Torah, they recite the Injil, but they are not acting upon that which they contain. He says, don't you see what's happened to these people? And in other narrations, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that this ummah will follow the footsteps of the previous nations. Like you will fall into the same mistakes that they fell into. And so one of these things that Allah Azza wa Jalla is highlighting in these ayat is that when guidance comes to you, and again it's connected to the previous passage about Adam alayhi salam as well, that when guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to you, your responsibility is to act on it in good faith with the truth. Do not mix it up. You can use these things for an ulterior motive. You can go and become an alim and a scholar. And there's a hadith, I didn't have time to mention the whole hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ said the first 3 people to be thrown into the hellfire. One of them is someone who died as a martyr, quote unquote martyr. The other one who recited Quran and had knowledge. The other one who gave a lot of money in charity. And all of these people will be asked, what did you do this for? And then the martyr will say, I died in for your cause. And the scholar will say, I recited Quran and taught the people Quran for your sake. And the other person will say, I gave sadaqah on your behalf. And Allah Azza wa Jalla will respond to each one. You did this so that it could be said that look at this shaheed. You did this so it could be said, this is a qari, this is an alim, that you wanted that status, and so on and so forth. And he said, you got what you wanted in the dunya, and then he'll command them to be thrown into the hellfire. An example will be set for the people on the day of Qiyamah. Right? That this religion, people can use it that they can use the truth to try and misguide people. That is a stern warning that Allah Azza wa Jal, He gives in these ayat. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us and to not make us amongst these people. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.